of course, as usual, Bayo Atoyebi is in the house. Welcome, Bayo.
Thank you, Yusuf. Good morning.
Good morning,
Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
Bayo, good to see you.
Okay, let's get started with the Punch newspaper here, and let's start it from the top. At the topmost, we have a story on page 19, and it goes like this: bread, cereals, others push food inflation to 20.30%. On page 13, bread, cereals, others push food inflation to 20.30%. Right under that, we have a story on page 19, still, Nigeria piles up 2.36 trillion naira debt stock in 3 months. On page 27, NIS says Odili on EFCC watch list as ex-governor sues immigration. Page 27. On page 9, that is, Southern secessionists not different from Boko Haram, ISWAP, Bajabia Mila says so. Right under the main plate, that is, we have the big story on the Punch here, and it's talking about National Assembly defense Buhari's $4.9 billion loan plan. Now, the APC-PDP clash over debt. And writers are, all countries engage in deficit financing. We are still within borrowing limit, says the Senate. The second writer is Buhari's loans for budget financing, not for looting as done by PDP, says ruling party. The third one is APC borrowing to finance corrupt lifestyles of its leaders and their cronies, alleges PDP. And going down, Assembly okays Ganduje's 4 billion naira power, others loan request, and that is going to be on page 14. Assembly okays Ganduje's 4 billion naira power, others loan request. On page 9, Bauchi Muslim Pilgrims Board was suspended. Governor orders probe. Bauchi Muslim Pilgrims Board was suspended. Governor orders probe. And on page 9 still, reps demand probe of customs killings in Oyo communities. At the foot of the page, we have 3 stories, one of which is on page 8, 1.5 million in Benue displaced persons camps, says the government. On page 5, Kano community protests 7-year outage, laments hoodlums attacks. And finally, on page 7, Buni mourns as NAF jet kills 9 Yobe villages. Kinsley?
Thank you very much, Nadabo. Let's also take a look at the Nation newspaper. Above the name flag, it says, Gun kill 2, abduct 14. That should be a printer's devil. It should be gunmen. It says gun kill 2, abduct 14 in Sokoto and Kaduna. Nigerian airstrike kills 10, injures 20 in Yobe. Community hit in error. That's the rider to that. Public officers' toll and extra code allowances for review. Inflation drops to 17.01%. While we seized all the lease passport. You have that on page 28. DMO puts public debt at 35 trillion naira. Chief of Army Staff to commanders, sit up. UNICEF, that's the kicker for the lead story. Attacks scare 1 million kids from school. And with a rider, parents keep children away in fear of abduction. Now, the UNICEF statistics for 2021 are stated there, and the states affected are also indicated. Zamfara, Katsina, Niger, and Kaduna. And so far, we've had 1,436 pupils abducted, 16 children dead, 200 missing. And there have been at least 20 attacks on schools. That 37 million kids are expected back in school. Governors meet in Enugu over VAT and others. Oyetola, that's governor of Osun State, and Udom of Akwa Ibom signed anti-open grazing bill. Presidency wants on Yoruba agitators and IPOB alliance. UN should ignore demands. That's one rider. Second one, according to the Speaker of the House, secession agitators not different from Boko Haram. And then right at the foot of the front page there, Kano cemeteries filled up, lawmakers seek creation of new grounds. And the photograph there on the front page show drugs seized from a syndicate by troops of Operation Safe Haven in Jos. And I'm sure that the officers must have a sense of humor. So the way the drugs are arranged, the packets are arranged. On the one hand, they look like paving stones, and then on the other one, they look like loaves of bread. Bayo.
Thank you, Kingsley. Let's start with the human interest story. An aircraft was seen firing at a village, Buhari village, in Yunusari local government area of Yobe State. 8 persons were reported killed, and about 20, including women and children, were injured. They were treated at Gedam Hospital. The chairman of Yunusari local government area, who confirmed the attack, said that he cannot say whether it was a Nigerian or Nigerian military that carried out the attack. Apparently, the attack was against insurgents, but the Nigerian Air Force says that it last operated in that territory on September 5. So from all indications, it could be from the Niger Air Force that carried out the attack pursuing the insurgents. And in Zamfara, bandits are said to be on the run from the military operations against them. Governor Bello Mutawale has had overtures being made to him to enter into dialogue with the bandits, but the governor says no, he will not have anything to do with discussing with bandits. However, in the meantime, the bandits are being dispersed and their locations are identified as Kebbi and Lambar Tureta in Sokoto State, as well as Biriningwari in Kaduna State. The paper caused a notorious bandit leader identified as Rekib, who confirmed that yes, there has been dispersal of criminals, but he and other leaders are still in their area. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates has declared 6 Nigerians wanted for terrorism. They are among 38 others who are from 12 other countries. Daily Trust published the names of the 6 Nigerians who are said to be aiding criminals over their networks, and they are associated with financing terrorism activities. Also at Abuja, the Federal High Court has fixed tomorrow for arraignment of 400 suspected alleged sponsors of terrorism. The presidency announced this last March. They are said to be mainly bureau de change operators who are allegedly facilitating transfer of funds to Boko Haram. Most of the transfer are said to have come from the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, the Vice Chancellor of University of Benin has rescinded the 20,000 late registration levy, which led students to demonstrate and block the Benin-Lagos Expressway on Tuesday. The Professor Lilian Salami was announced the cancellation and the directive of immediate closure of the university yesterday, which was rescinded. The Vice Chancellor was reportedly abducted from her residence and forced to trek nearly to the main gate. Sensing the situation, the Vice Chancellor agreed to the demands of the student, and she was allowed to return her residence. On Tuesday, the students barricaded the Benin-Lagos Expressway at Ugbo, causing commuters who are traveling. The Ugbo Expressway, the Benin-Lagos Expressway, is a main arterial highway for travelers from the south, southeast, and in north. And so you have so many people there. The tendency for youths to want to believe in their right to protest and also obstruct other persons from going about their normal business is a matter of concern. Meanwhile, the penalty, the 20,000 penalty was supposed to have been imposed on those who failed to pay the 75,000 school fees by 3rd of September. And the students are arguing that if because of hardship they cannot pay 75, why will the university add another 20,000 on top of it? Also in Edo State, the government yesterday enforced the no COVID card vaccination, no entry into public offices. The entry to government house and other government offices were manned by enforcement officers. Those who provided the vaccination card were allowed in, and those who failed were asked to go back home. Government says it is not compelling anyone to take vaccination. However, they have a duty to prohibit others who have not been vaccinated from infecting other persons. Some vaccination stands were provided nearby locations where people could go and get the vaccination. The State Nigeria Labour Congress says they will be calling the Congress on Friday to take a decision on that. But meanwhile, the Benin branch of the Nigeria Bar Association says that, well, it is acknowledged the noble intention of government, but however, it wants the government to be law-abiding, especially by abiding by the stay of execution by a Port Harcourt High Court. There's latest on Nigeria's debt profile. Nigeria total public debt now stands as 35.465 trillion naira. This is as June 30th. This was made public by the Director General of the Debt Management Office, Peja Oniha, through a virtual presentation yesterday. The domestic debt is 21.75 trillion, which is about 61.3%, while the external debt is 13.7 trillion, which is 38.3%. The total debt for the federal government is 29.45 trillion, and it breaks into external of 11.82 trillion and domestic 17.63. Those of 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory amounts to 6 trillion. It breaks down into external 1.88 trillion and domestic 4.12. The DG says the borrowing was very key in bridging the deficit in budgeting for infrastructure. In the overview that she did, she identified factors for the need to borrow to include the huge infrastructure deficit, recession twice in 6 years, consecutive budget deficit, low revenue base of oil, which crashed some time ago, and also at the peak of COVID-19, no buyer for our oil. Also, there's news about inflation. Inflation, as provided by the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, is reported to have dropped from 17.38% to 17.01%. That is a drop of about 0.37%. Urban inflation, however, increased by 17.95%, while rural inflation was at 16.43%. It might interest you that food inflation year on year was highest in Kogi State, which was 28.76%. The lowest in Bauchi, where it was 17.24%. The factors identified: simple, supply, and the former Director General of Lagos Chamber of Commerce identified high cost in transportation, exchange rate registration, forex liquidity, hike in energy costs. You remember hike in the tariff of recent, and also insecurity, which has prohibited farmers from going to the farms. All these are accumulating in causing crisis in supply.
Okay. Really, the challenge news is the fall in inflation, but that didn't really translate really by Kingsley to the farmer's table whenever he goes to the market with the meager he has in his pocket, and he hardly gets something back home as he moves in. So there's still work to be done on that in the economy, really.
No question about that, I agree with you. The other story perhaps of interest is the report that duty toll and extra code allowances for public officers intended now for review. This was according to the Accountant General of the Federation. Well, a review can be upwards, a review can be downwards.
Yes.
What we do know is that the country's recurrent expenditure, of which extra code and duty toll allowances form a part, the recurrent expenditure profile is unsustainable, clearly unsustainable. And it turns out that some public officers just find it as an avenue to supplement their income, embark on unnecessary tours at home and abroad. I do know that a couple of years ago, the extra code was also revised to such an extent that the number of days, that's to say the number of days for which you travel, will not be included. I mean, if it's just 1 day, but if it is 2 days, there was a way they tried to work that out. That's one. But the elephant in the room has to do with the wage disparity across the agencies in the public service of the federal government. Wage disparity. We had the Minister of Finance. She was our guest here on Good Morning Nigeria, and she said, yes, a committee has been set up. She's co-chair of that committee, along with the Minister of Labor and Employment. And I think that that's one of the key things to be revisited urgently. And some of those humongous wages that you find in some of those agencies that are not producing rockets or launching rockets into space, you know, I'm not saying that for any of those, but I'm just using that as a metaphor, should be revised downwards as quickly as possible.
In fact, the president is on record to have indicated that, expressed concern about disparity in wages within the public service itself. You find that a public servant whose classmate, they graduated together, he goes into the public service, the other one succeeds in getting into a federal agency, a parastatal, either in the oil sector or in the finance sector. And this disparity in the wages they earn is just wide. At the end of the day, they go to the same market.
Precisely.
Everywhere in the world, what happens is that if you are peers and you graduated together, one goes into the public service, the other one into, say, the health services, the other one into the armed forces, your salaries will be at par. But the differences will be the variation in the allowances peculiar to your service. So here you have young men who are very, very ingenious, deliberately selecting where to seek employment to. Because
young men and women.
Okay,
and
yes.
Of course, looking forward right.
They call them lucrative employment.
Even right from, you know, leaving secondary school, they now know what to study in order to get more money and be employed. When they get employed, they get more money, even more than their parents.
And you can hear, you know, in this controversy over VAT, yes, some persons are already whispering that, oh, if states collect VAT, then it will affect the take-home and allowances of staff of FIRS. And that's because FIRS gets 4% commission on VAT collected.
Well, how much that custom get on their own collection?
Yeah, it's much higher. Yes, it's much higher. And I'd be saying that, look, slash that thing and let there be revenue for the government.
Just only last week, there was approval for remuneration for a digital outfit in the country.
Yeah.